Okay, we'll start with this. Well, a headline that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about in the next coming days and weeks. Teofimo Lopez is not going back to Top Rank. Takeover Promotions is the future. A few key talking points. Always going to bet on me. Fighters should always look to that. At the moment, Lopez's goal is to stay focused on this fight while the team works on the future. Trying to be as cordial and polite during these negotiations, but Todd Duboff wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. Another talking point. ESPN is disappointed in Top Rank and Todd Duboff. I shouldn't have been in this predicament, but things happen. Another talking point. He sees himself becoming a free agent soon. Top Rank gave him the golden ticket to get away. Another talking point, looking forward to ESPN, PBC, Triller, DAZN, etc. Potentially becoming a partner, just trying to become his own boss. He's shaken the sport of boxing. Another talking point. He was always happy with Top Rank. It's one of the best companies to start a career. He has nothing against Top Rank, but had they gotten rid of Todd, maybe they would have been able to work it out. People are willing to buy his contract out. People see the potential of what he could become. When he fights Kambosos, when they get those numbers, everyone will want to fight him for the biggest payday. Last talking point, Top Rank still has rights at the moment, but they could make another fight happen. WBN understands that it's highly unlikely. Lastly, Lopez faces mandatory challenger George Kambosos Jr. in the coming months. The fight could take place as a co-feature to Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 3. Teofimo Lopez, the unified champion to some, undisputed champion to others, took to his social media and officially announced that the fight with Kambosos Jr. is going down June 5th in Miami. Whether or not we should interpret this as an unofficial announcement as to when Tyson versus Holyfield 3 will be taking place is anybody's guess, as it is being speculated that this fight between Teofimo and George could be the co-main to that main.
I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody.
Talked about this in a previous video, how the people over there at Top Rank, Todd Duboff, Todd in particular, emailing Eddie Hearn in what looked to be an attempt to collude the purse bid. That can be used against the people over there at Top Rank, as they weren't acting in good faith on their fighter's behalf. Their fighter who was not satisfied with the kind of money they were willing to put up, thus he sought to the purse bid to get those monies. If you email some of the other potential bidders, and in any way, shape, or form try to instruct them not to bid, that, my friends, is collusion. And that collusion is a violation of a promoter's fiduciary duty to their fighter.
Not acting with his best interests in mind, you're acting on the behalf of your own.
And in so many words, you're attempting to rig the bid so that this kid can't get more for the fight than what you were willing to put up. Which is how we got here in the first place.
So no, I'm not surprised Teofimo's not going back.
Top Rank has become a very toxic place for young Teofimo Lopez, and given where he is in his career right now, he doesn't necessarily need to be there to get fights. If Teofimo Lopez moves forward and continues to campaign at 135 pounds, which you have to remember is he has most, if not all of, the alphabet titles. Thus, any fighter, regardless of which outfit they're with, if they have any aspirations of fighting for world titles, if they have any aspirations
of becoming world champions,
they're going to have to deal with him, regardless of which outfit they're with. Top Rank, Golden Boy, Matchroom, doesn't matter. He's got the belts. He's the man to beat. Thus, he's the guy you've got to go see. That's if he stays at 135. It's conceivable that in the near future, he might move up. But even if he does, what you have to remember, Ramirez versus Taylor is set to go down very soon. And it's conceivable that shortly thereafter, regardless of who wins that fight, the winner of that fight might so decide to move up in weight. Campaign at 147 pounds. Take on the reigning WBO champion, Spence-Crawford. If that happens, all those world titles at 140 pounds are going to be up for grabs. And it's conceivable that Teofimo might not even have to deal with Top Rank in order to get one for himself. Top Rank, who he is now so estranged from. Todd Duboff, in particular, the son-in-law of Bob Arum, and what is supposed to be the heir apparent to the Top Rank throne.
Lopez is blaming him for this situation.
For the most part, many of the polarizing comments we've been hearing in association with this debacle between Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank Promotions, most of the polarizing comments we've been hearing have been coming from Bob Arum. Yet Teofimo Lopez seems to have named Todd Duboff, Todd in particular, as the root of the problem. boxing community isn't as familiar with Todd Duboff as they are Uncle Bob. Todd, for the most part, is a background guy.
What he did specifically, I don't know.
But at minimum, what we do know is that he didn't satisfy Teofimo Lopez's demands, financial demands, and that's how we ended up here. That's how this whole thing started. I don't think Lopez gets the winner of Taylor versus Ramirez. I think that much is obvious.
Top Rank might not give him access to the winner of that fight.
When the winner of that fight emerges, maybe they stick around long enough to defend their titles against Jack Catterall, the WBO's mandatory challenger. Maybe they do that, maybe they don't. Maybe they chuck all the belts immediately after they win them, move up and wait, and prepare themselves to take on Terrence Crawford. It's anybody's guess, but what I don't think is going to happen, I don't think Teofimo Lopez is going to get the winner of that fight. Lopez has left the door open to potentially deal with ESPN, the network, without Top Rank acting as the middleman. That's a possibility. Triller is yet another possibility, an extended relationship with them. Teofimo Lopez also mentioned the PBC, though I don't think it's likely he goes over there. I really don't.
They ain't got that many ponies in the show at 135 or 140.
Here now, Lopez is still under contract with Top Rank. That contract is still active. Thus, someone must buy out that contract. And the only outfit out there that has the finances, the resources to buy out that contract is Matchroom.
I don't think PBC has it in the budget to buy out that contract.
And that's because PBC doesn't look like they have it in the budget to keep many of their fighters active, to keep many of their fighters fighting. They haven't offered anything resembling a schedule. We're 3 months into 2021, whereas Matchroom, they're staging fights like we're not in the middle of a pandemic.
There's two places I think Lopez is likely to go.
He could end up going to Matchroom, who I just mentioned, or he could end up having an extended stay on Triller. He could become their face of boxing, the ambassador for their brand of events they hope to stage moving forward.
You mentioned ESPN.
Dealing with them directly, but what exactly does that mean? He wants to start his own promotional company, and that's fine, but until that promotional company actually gets a set of legs and a set of teeth, I don't really see how that's supposed to work. Teofimo Lopez working directly with ESPN. I think a more fruitful, more realistic relationship would have to be either a relationship with Triller directly or crossing over to Matchroom.
They can promote him.
While his team endeavors to get his own promotional company, his own brand, off the ground. See a very similar situation to that in DHP, Devin Haney Promotions, one of the highest paid lightweights in the world. Surmise my thoughts. None of this comes as a surprise to me because what the people over there at Top Rank attempted to do to the fighter is unforgivable. You've essentially attempted to put a cap on how much Teofimo Lopez stood to earn for this fight. When you guys couldn't satisfy his financial needs, he tried to go somewhere else to have those needs satisfied, and you actually tried to stop that from happening. Being said, I'm not surprised that Teofimo Lopez has no intentions of returning to Top Rank. Just in keeping with the theme of news coming out of the lightweight division, per tweet from Mike Kopinger sources, Devin Haney is set to earn $3 million for his May fight against Jorge Linares. The rising star made $2 million for his November bout against Yuriorkis Gamboa. At 22, Haney is already one of the best paid in the game. Quite right. The story we just talked about involving unified champion to some, undisputed champion to others, Teofimo Lopez. The story we just talked about, that entire fiasco between Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank, it never would have got that far if Teofimo Lopez were being paid the way that Devin Haney is being paid. He made $2 million for Yuriorkis Gamboa. $2 million fucking dollars. It's more than Top Rank wanted to pay Teofimo Lopez to take on George Kambosos Jr. And this goes back to what I told you before. Maybe the people over there at Top Rank just ain't got it to spare. Maybe they don't want to blow that kind of money on that kind of fight because they know they're not going to get a return on it. Whereas the people over there at Matchroom and DAZN, they've got more resources, more money to throw around, more money to play, more money to pay. That's the only way to explain how Devin Haney could be getting a purse that size for Gamboa.
$3 million for Linares.
Context is key here, folks. Context is key. A lot of things get lost in the annals of boxing history, even if those things were being talked about not that long ago. Because not that long ago, you had a lot of folks who wanted to pretend that the people over there at Matchroom and DAZN were playing with funny money or something.
When big cash offers were going out to fighters like Gervonta Davis.
For a Tevin Farmer fight, Big cash offers were going out to Jermall Charlo for a Demetrius Andre unification match. Big cash offers to heavyweights like Adam Kovnowski and Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder.
Big cash offers.
When these offers were going out, you had a faction of fight fans telling themselves and each other that this is all funny money.
Did you guys forget?
I think time has proven the purveyors of this narrative to be a bunch of fucking bozos.
Think Jermall Charlo made $7 million fighting Sergey?
Think Adam Kovnowski got a multi-million-dollar payday to get knocked out by Robert Helenius?
What about Luis Ortiz?
What did he make for getting knocked out by Deontay Wilder for a second time? You think he really got $6-7 million the way he would have got if he would have fought Anthony Joshua?
They offered Davis, what, $6-7 million to fight Tevin Farmer.
Do you think that Gervonta Davis got either $6, $7, or $8 million for fighting Yuriorkis Gamboa or even Leo Santa Cruz? Do you really think he got that much for those fights? I think about how many multi-million-dollar offers were turned down by all these different fighters the last 3 years. And then I look over at what Devin Haney's set to make for fighting little old Jorge Linares. He's set to make a $3 million payday. You can say what you want about this kid's resume. You can say it's paper thin. But that only drives the point that I'm about to make home even further. That in spite of his resume being paper thin, this kid's making a lot of money. And it's because Matchroom has more resources than anybody else out there.
That's why I think Teofimo might go over there.
It's possible that he has an extended stay on Triller, opts to become their face of boxing for their platform, their fight club, as it were. That's a genuine possibility. But it's also possible, given Matchroom's resources. Look at how they're paying Devin Haney. Can you imagine how much they'd be paying Teofimo Lopez?
Now, do you see what I'm getting at?
Pay Devin Haney $2 million to fight Gamboa, $3 million to fight Linares. What would they pay Teofimo Lopez, unified champion to some, undisputed champion to others? What would they pay him?
More than Top Rank.
And even more than the PBC, I dare say, because I reiterate, Matchroom's got the resources. DAZN's got the juice.
If you haven't figured that out yet, you're just a fucking bozo.
In welterweight news, what looks to have been a possibly inebriated Errol Spence Jr. Who knows if he was hitting the licks, who knows if he wasn't. He went live on his social media and so many words said, "It's 70-30 now. Okay, boy, you're going to make me do 80-20. I'm an 80-20, said Errol Spence Jr. on social media on the per split options he's offering Terence Crawford. Pay what you weigh. And, you know, I'm really not interested in this conversation, but I suppose that I have to cover it because it is news. Nobody really feels like arguing about this anymore. The boxing community, the portion of it that was excited about this fight, views the fight as cold product.
I don't think Errol Spence Jr. wants a fight.
And that's not going to come as news to any of you. I've been telling you guys this for well over a year. 2 to 3 years, actually.
I want the fucking fight.
You gotta think about this now. He's no longer in the running for a Manny Pacquiao fight. Errol Spence Jr., I mean, he's not. He's not in the running for that fight, and neither is Terence Crawford. For the longest time, being in the running for a Manny Pacquiao fight was Errol Spence Jr.'s excuse to continually put the Crawford fight on the back burner. Well, that Pacquiao fight is not even on the table anymore. But you see what his demeanor is. Even at a time when you don't have Manny Pacquiao to use as an excuse to keep delaying the Crawford fight, he's still doing the same old shit.
And he's leaning towards a Mikey Garcia fight.
Yeah, there are some blurbs here and there about Crawford still being a potential opponent, but you and I both know that Crawford-Pacquiao fight, it's not likely to happen. And I'd like to be wrong about this, though I don't think I am. In all likelihood, Manny Pacquiao's gonna fight Mikey Garcia, and that's what I've been telling you for well over a year.
No surprises there.
But more to the point, Errol Spence Jr. doesn't have the name of Manny Pacquiao to hide behind anymore. Yet you see how he's behaving, you see what he's doing. Oh, now it's 70-30, now it's 80-20.
He's like a little kid, this fucking guy.
3 years later, he's still dangling this carrot in front of the boxing fans who, at least by now, have grown so frustrated with this entire fiasco, they've given up hope on the fight. It's not buzzing the way that it was when it first became a talking point. And after 3 years, what do you expect?
Just hurry up and fight Ugas and pretend that's supposed to be the same thing.
There's a few ways that could break down. You know, they could try to have Ugas go straight into an Errol Spence Jr. unification match, attempt to build that as a pay-per-view, as if Yordenis Ugas is the fight that everybody's been asking for 3 years, right?
Right.
They could do it that way, or they could attempt to have Ugas fight Keith Thurman in what I also think would be a pay-per-view. Keith, in the past, has always done respectable numbers, respectable viewing figures. For Ugas, it would be a chance to add a quality scalp to his resume. For Keith, it would be a world title shot, a world title opportunity that he can't seem to get anywhere else. Errol doesn't want to give him the time of day, and he keeps pricing himself out of a Terrence Crawford fight. The only other champion at the weight is Ugas. The problem with that theory is that Keith hasn't fought in 2 years, or close to 2 years. I mean, he's on another one of his hiatuses. And it's hard to imagine that Keith would go straight into an Ugas fight off that much inactivity.
So maybe Ugas versus Spence is next.
And maybe the only reason that Errol Spence Jr. has left his echo chamber and decided to take to social media to once again start dangling the fans with this fight, this Crawford fight, maybe the only reason he's even doing that is to create a buzz around his next ring appearance, which probably won't even be against Crawford. It'll be against Ugas.
Yeah, that's it.
And never mind all of Errol Spence Jr.'s mouth breathers who rather spend night and day arguing about the fight and who would win it, as opposed to campaigning, advocating that the fight get made. Never mind those fucking guys. Nobody's got the patience for them anymore.
Nobody cares that much.
Spence clearly isn't all that concerned with fighting that fucking guy, and I'm not going to argue about it for 3-4 fucking hours.
For what?
There are plenty of other fights happening and plenty of other weight classes involving other fighters, and if the American crop of welterweights, one in particular, wants to poo-poo over the most interesting fight that division has to offer, if that's how he wants to treat that situation, so be it. That's what he's been doing for the last 3 years, ain't it?
So let him fight Ugas.
I know that fighting Ugas ain't going to get him the same money that fighting Crawford would. It's not going to get him the same attention. It's not as big a fight, but you know what? If that's more important to him, that's more important to him.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
And so's he.